안녕하십니까. 진짜로 오늘 이런 자리를 마련해 주신 백성주 회장님께 먼저 감사드리고요. 저는 한국말이 조금 사투리가 너무 많아서 조금 알아듣기 어려워서 오늘 우리 홍 대표, 저의 한국 AB 대표님이 영어로 제가 발표하고 통역을 하겠습니다. 정말로 이 바쁜 일정을 또 불구하고 오늘 이 전년 기념관을 찾아뵈셔서 너무 감사합니다. 저도 정말로 영광스럽게 생각합니다. 지금부터 시작하겠습니다. So my remarks really is going to be based on some of the researches that I've done. I just got the PhD at age 63 from University of Southern California. And also, more importantly, I think my experience is 30 years in the United States Army and graduating from West Point. And then I served 10 years at the Boeing company. I know my colleague from Boeing is here. I served 10 years at the Boeing company, head of all Southeast Asia defense program. And then lastly, this current position as the vice president of AeroVironment, which is the leading autonomous system company in the world. So all those experiences I want to kind of highlight to you in my discussions today. So the topic is as is stated on the topic, future and current role of the UAV. And you know, there's an old saying that pictures is worth 1,000 words. So I want to start with the video that was filmed by the CNN last year because drone was such an important item of the day. And so that was played in the KBS. I know KBS filming today, so I'm going to show you about a minute video about the UAV and why UAV is part of our life and future conflict as well.
Into Russia, including this September and maybe July. Oil refinery on Russian Black Sea roads, causing a major fire. After it stalled, flight it all starts. How war is won.
That if you have better equipment, better vehicle, we can finish it very quickly. I don't want my son or other children to have war in the future.
So the current and future application of drones in combat. You know, as you've seen the video, the UAV used in Ukraine has effectively altered the dynamics of military operations. Drones have been used for various purposes, including surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeting strikes. UAV represent a transformative advance in military technology, reflecting significant investments and development worldwide. And AeroVironment has been forefront of this unmanned technology. And just let me tell you a little bit about our company, AeroVironment. This company was formed 30 plus years ago in 1971. We have delivered over 35,000 units of UAVs to 55 countries around the world and 4 million safe flight hours. And 10 of the 11 products that we produce here, they're currently deployed in the combat zone in Ukraine. And the key thing I would just say to you is that, you know, we had the foresight. Before the Ukraine war happened, we predicted this war to occur. So what we did was to ordered all the long lead items before the war. So when the United States government said, we want drones into Ukraine, we were ready. And we've delivered our products within a month, and that is unheard of. Normally, when you acquire a weapon, it takes 2 to 3 years, but we were able to produce it, test it, and send it to Ukraine within months. So some of the key products we make is first the solar HAPS, high altitude pseudo satellite, that flies way in the stratosphere, and it provides communication cellular service to most remote countries in the world. And also we produce both a small UAV, Pumas, Raven, and then we produce a medium UAV called T-20 Jump 20. And the most important, most famous weapon system is called the loitering munitions, or Switchblade 300 and 600. You've heard that probably in media and open source. They are the most prolifically lethal weapon in Ukraine, currently destroying Russian tanks, destroying Russian armed forces. And in fact, the President Zelensky told our CEO, Switchblade is our strategic weapon, the very best weapon that we have in our arsenal. And in fact, Korean defense industry is very, very strong as well. And one of the things that we are already working on is to collaborate with the Korean industry. The latest and finest advanced system, we are looking at several Korean companies to have co-production. I've did the MOU signing during the KDEX a couple of months ago. So looking forward to really improving the Korean UAV status as well. And then the other products are the ground robots. This is the robots that's produced by a German company, and that is used for NBC attack, EOD, hazmat, key missions that it performs. So I want to tell you one other item. That is we just announced our latest platform called P550. That is a system between small and medium UAV. And we announced it, we revealed it at the AUSA in October in Washington, D.C. That is going to be a game changer because it's vertical takeoff. It takes off vertically. And it has a long range, reconnaissance, and also it has communication package that is like, it really enhances interoperability with the ROC forces or our allies. So that's another item that we just released. So the most differentiating system that we have is called this Tomahawk Common Controller. Actually, this is based out of Samsung tablet, and that will control all this UAV plus what Koreans or other countries make. So that is called Common Controller. It's differentiating from other company, and that is also been introduced to our company. And finally, you probably heard it as yesterday or day before, we announced in the media acquisition of a new company called Blue Hello, and that is about $4.1 billion acquisition, and that will provide something that we didn't have. That's counter UAS and AI technology along with directed energy. That is three things that that company will bring to our company, which really make our company comprehensively probably leading autonomous company in the world. So as many companies, not only us, but there are other competitors, and Boeing is one of them too. It's they're making UAVs in situ, and I worked that piece when I was in Boeing company. But all of us, constantly improving, getting the latest technology, and Korean companies are doing the same thing. But it is imperative to understand their implications and integration into the current and future warfight, and that is key. You gotta be able to, you can have the best, but if it doesn't work in warfight, that is not good. So that's why I say, of the 10 platforms we produce, 11 we produce, 10 is in current warfight. That's why I don't have to sell much. That's most important. So in Ukraine, there's no question the asymmetrical edge provided by the UAV is a key point that I want to point out today. And especially the FPVs. This is first-person view drones. They are very simply made. It is really made by the hobbyists, civilians, right? But when you put weapons on it and we put swarms of it, that becomes a lethal weapon that we are finding in Ukrainian warfight. And it has killed hundreds of tanks and killed a lot of Russian enemies. And one good FPV operator, I was told, that killed 435 soldiers and destroyed over 42 tanks. It's unbelievable. And it is, I would assume, right, we are very safely to assume that the North Korean forces who are deployed in Ukraine is now witnessing this in person, live, right? And it's going to make them much more, a dangerous enemy that we got to contend with in the future. So really, as much as everybody's talk about UAV, at the end of the day, UAV alone cannot win battles. But one thing we have learned in Ukraine is that innovation of UAV and how you apply the technology as quickly as possible and get it into the combat zone is important. And then these systems, as I described, all these systems working as combined, a system of system. Not one system fighting itself, but combined makes lethal. And that's the key thing that we learned in Ukraine. Okay, so let me talk to you about some of the lessons learned in Ukraine. So what does Russians want to do? Russians like to fire a lot of artillery rounds. The reports indicate they have fired over 1.5 million shells per month. Russians love to employ extensive jamming systems along the front lines. They have used the Iranian Shahad suicide drones, and they've hit deep into the Ukraine civilian population and military targets. One of the problems, though, with Russian forces, unlike the United States forces, is that when the senior leaders get killed, they're under enlisted soldiers does not have independent thinking, or they do not know how to take the mission and move forward. Whereas in U.S. Army, when I was the commander in 2nd ID, our NCOs are trained. If I die, they are able to take over and fight, continue the battle. And I think key thing is most of the Russian soldiers, I think they are feeling this is Putin's war, not their war, right? They don't have the stake that Ukrainian forces have. So that's another significant difference. So, and conversely, what does Ukrainians do in this case? So what they do is they're using extensive electronic warfare assets, and because they do not have unmanned aviation, they rely on UAVs, particularly the homemade UAVs, as I described, FPVs. Very cheaply made, but they put all different kind of munition on it, and that's killing Russians as we speak. So that's why they're very ingenious. They're using, as they fight, they learn something and they apply it. So that's something we in the United States and the Korean forces should learn from. And I think the biggest takeaway is this, and I've seen this in Taiwan. I just came back from Taiwan a month ago, is will to fight. You know, the Ukrainian population, they are force multiplier. They have a mission. They want to protect their country. They have a values, right? Democraticness. They want to protect that. And that is more important than anything else. So I say to you in Korea too, we could have the best weapon, but if younger population of Koreans not going to fight or have that will to fight, it's going to be problematic. So that's one thing I want to stress to you. The will to fight of the population is the most important takeaway in any battle, I think. So other key takeaway in Ukraine war is the use of trench warfare. You've probably seen it in World War I and World War II. These guys are using a lot of trench warfare. They fight from it. They stay there a long time. So how do we fight? So what the Ukrainians do and what we advise them to do is using HIMARS and Switchblade 600 or Switchblade 300 that can clear the trench and just totally, destroy them. And finally, the improvements that we made in munitions, in particular, small Switchblade 300, for example, that is anti-personnel. It's not anti-tank. 600 is anti-tank. But even 300, we have improved munitions. We call it explosively formed penetrator, EFP rounds. Now, that munition, small one it is, that can penetrate 2 to 3 inches of steel. So, in fact, that can destroy light personnel carrier. So, we're constantly improving the lethality, flexibility, speed, all that to be better prepared in the future warfight. And I think everybody knows by now the UAVs are a game changer indeed. But some observers say that in Ukraine, already we're fighting robots against robots, UAVs against UAV. In my assessment, I don't think we are there yet. We need thousands of drones to be able to execute that kind of warfare. So we are not there yet. And then I talked about FPVs. They are, really made for civilian use, right? So that its durability, reliability, and interference with the jamming, all that, it still need to be improved. So that's the point I want to make. So the biggest problem I see is industry support to this, right? We are requiring, I mentioned 1.5 million rounds Russians are firing, right? Even the United States, we cannot produce fast enough artillery rounds. Talk about UAV, right? There is no company that can produce as many UAVs or munitions that you need to fight the war. So that's the area that we got to focus on going forward, right? Ability to produce in scale, big numbers, and get it to the war fight as quickly as possible where soldiers need it. So that is something that I think lessons learned that we are all kind of taking into and see how we can do a better job supporting our soldiers in the combat area. So what does the future warfight hold for autonomous system? Clearly, Russian-Ukrainian war, there is ongoing innovation race. Everybody's taking some successes here and there and try to apply it, and whoever can best, take the lessons learned, apply it to a new system, test it, and field it. That is the key point that we must do, because every month new system is coming out, new jamming stuff is coming out. So bottom line is you really got to attack that issue. Yeah, with the rise of UAV warfare, militaries are forced to be flexible, using out-of-box thinking, adopt different strategies as it goes. Really, the survivability depends on the side that can best adopt fastest, rapidly produce in scale, and field it as quickly as possible. In past 2 decades, the United States has used drones quite effectively and quite extensively, I may add, in Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen. But starting in 2020, the sensor shooter concept, using, like for example, our AV, small drones are the sensors. Then strike is the killer drone, switchblade. Once you sense the target, the shooter switchblade will attack and kill the target. So for example, switchblade 300, its kill rate is 82% effective rate. And then SP600 anti-tank effective rate is 92%. That's unheard of. That is the accuracy and lethality that our systems provide. So Ukraine has shown the first large-scale deployment of SLICE, I call it SLICE, small, low-cost, and expendable drones by both Ukrainian and the Russian forces for gathering real-time intelligence and direct combat engagements. And understanding these lessons is essential for developing future drone capabilities and tactics in warfare. And AV efforts to collaborate with the Korean industries is a great example of a win-win proposition to produce a quality and capable drone in large scale to counter growing North Korean threats, not only North Korean threats, but other instabilities in the region. With decreasing population growth in the many countries, including Korea, use of drone in future battles is absolutely necessary. And Ukraine forces have removed the risk of humans by conducting surveillance and reconnaissance mission with the longer range drones. So when equipped with multi-sensor packages, these drones have been essential in detecting enemy movements during day or night. And I've been artillery officer for 30 years in the United States Army, and I can tell you how important the forward observer. I was a forward observer. I physically go out in the forward lines, detect target, and send back radio message back to the artillery battery, and they fire. But now we don't need that anymore. We have the small UAVs go forward, way forward, right? Detect the target and immediately, real time, send the target data back to the switchblade or artillery and engage it. So really the real kill chain time is from 30 minutes to 5 minutes. That's revolutionary. So let me now talk a little bit about counter UAV. That's another important. I talked about UAV and how do we counter these UAV. One way is as they become airborne, you shoot it and strike it at the airborne, or you shoot it before they get launched, just like a anti-missile defense kill chain. So the key countermeasure to prevent drones from reaching their target has been EW, a broad range of activities related to controlling the electromagnetic spectrum like jammers, spoofers, deceiving enemy communication system. So jamming is conducted by directing high amount of energy toward the UAV to interfere with the radio frequency controls or data signals. AV's recent acquisition that I mentioned earlier, Blue Hollow Company, is expected to greatly remove this gap that we have because they're going to focus on counter UAV, AI integration, and directed energy. It's the latest stuff in the autonomous system world. And I think the other point is about the cost effectiveness. Now the days of just having big fighters, big tanks may be over. We need more smaller, cost effective, right, and more lethal, just UAV. And I think, as I advise Korean Defense and MND, I think that's where we gotta put our efforts behind. And clearly we could see from Ukraine, if you don't have the money, you cannot sustain the warfight. And clearly if you see Ukraine, without the help of the United States, European, Asian countries to Ukraine, they could not wage the war, or they could not have lasted this far. So another point that I think I mentioned it earlier, but this the nature of modern warfare in Ukraine shows the accelerated cycle of innovation. How quickly they're, taking the innovation and applying that. That is something that latest information coming out of Ukraine indicate that new technologies is about 4 to 6 weeks. In some cases, one system went through 400 innovations, both software and hardware, in 9 months. So that's what we're dealing with. It's constantly changing. And I think the other point is the AI. Importance of AI will be everywhere. It'll be multi-domain, right? So I think the key area for AI, I think, will be in the terminal guidance, visual navigation, and target detection and swarming. Those are areas where AI will play a critical role. But in my assessment, I would say AI, as a dominant AI is both civilian and military application. In my view, the human element got to be in that decision-making loop. No matter how advanced AI going to be, in my assessment, the leadership and the judgment of a combat leader, you cannot replace that. So, that's my kind of assessment on where AI is going. So I think the future battles may involve not just platforms, but also enemy networks, with agility and adaptability being key to success. So advanced UAS will feature AI full autonomy and rapid decision-making capabilities, enhancing battlefield communications and coordination. So lessons learned from Ukraine underscores the evolutionary impact of UAS technology in the modern warfare, offering new capabilities such as counter-UAS, AI sectors that must be incorporated for tactical advantage. And I would recommend Republic of Korean forces must also integrate these technologies into their doctrine, strategies to maintain a technological edge in contemporary and future fights. And I, having served in the U.S. Forces Korea for over 13 of my 30 years in military, I served in 2nd ID, all the way from company commander to deputy brigade commander, commanding over 3,000 soldiers. I can tell you, U.S.-ROC alliance is very strong. But I think industry-wise, we can do more collaboration together to make it win-win. Not only Korean, armed market is really second to none now. Hanwha's and Hyundai's, they are really, really good. And so in my position, I really want to, collaborate and cooperate together to make even better, systems that can withstand any enemies that we confront. So my minute left, my final comment is this. As a Korean American, I am proud to stand before you to talk about some of the latest things that we do. Bottom line is my son was going to be speaker here. He is also West Pointer. He's been in the Korean media quite often, I think. He works for Hanwha now. I'm very proud of him. He was wounded in Afghanistan. But I tell you, freedom is not free. Baek Sung-ju said it, the General Paek said it, freedom is not free. And all of us got to do our part to defend the freedom that we are given. And I tell you, I am so grateful. The 회장님 here, Baek Sung, he was my roommate in Korea Defense and Kaida. And you know, from him I've learned a lot, and all other colleagues who were at KAIDA. I'm continuously learning. And so while I'm in Korea, I will do my very best to support ROK-US Alliance, because we are forged in blood, and we got to do everything we can to, you know, work together. To war is the last thing you want. When you're strong, Kim Jong-il will not dare to fight strong alliance of U.S. ROK Alliance, I believe. So as I travel all of Asia that I cover, Taiwan, there's big issues in Taiwan, right? South China Sea is always looming. We got multiple fronts war that's happening right now. When I was in Pentagon doing the head of operations, I said, okay, U.S. is strong. We can do maybe two front war, one or two. But now, what position are we in? We are engaged, right? Ukraine fight, Israel fight, right? Potentially, there could be something happening in Taiwan. I meet with Taiwan ministers. They say they are afraid. Then concurrently, something could happen in Korean Peninsula. So all those reasons, we must be strong. We must be strong. And then I think we could be safe. Finally, you know how great translator, he makes it better than what I say. So he is one of the best talented young men, and I want him to succeed. And he has worked for me for a year and a half. And I think, you know, a lot of young people like this, super talented Korean younger generation. So I'm very hopeful that Korea will remain strong, peaceful, right? Having strong defense. That's the key. You've got to have strong defense. So again, thank you, Joseph, for doing such a good job, better than me, on the translation.